Welcome to Identity Unboxed, where we provide mentorship and promote representation for Black professionals in the advancement of the Black community.
We are seeking guidance from exceptional Black leaders, scholars, and professionals with expertise in their respective fields.
We hope to foster a space that promotes authenticity, inclusivity, and restoration for our listeners while exploring the intersection of our personal and professional lives.
This project is a culmination of our lived experiences as young Black professionals to transform our life trajectories, to overcome adversity and reach triumph.
Our intention is to inspire you on your path to discovering your purpose. Just moving more into your position at Force4Change, you were hoping if you could describe some of the critical skills that you developed through competing at such a high level of professional athletics, and how these transferable skills have served you as a woman in leadership. And also, could you describe like your path to leadership? I know you mentioned you had some of the connections just from your time playing, but how did you come to the Storm and then move into the position that you're at now?
Yeah, so the last year I played was 2020, and when I retired, the front office said, "We feel like you helped us build out Force4Change. We want you to come help lead it. We feel like you would be perfect." And honestly, that's how I got into the role. I always tell people I believe that companies should hire athletes because, first of all, I always push WNBA because, first of all, these are Black women who understand what it's like to be one of the most marginalized groups, where most of us are college educated. That's also a piece. And then there's the fact where with athletics, and sometimes I talk to my friends who we all have normal jobs now, like we're not playing sports anymore, but because with sports, you're always pushing the limits. So you're always you're always changing, and your work ethic is through the roof. And I'm not going to say all athletes. Okay. Of course, there's some people where they're like knuckleheads, like I want to hire them. But I honestly feel like there's Nike created this program. It's called a WIN program. They've hired former WNBA players and they've put them into these roles with like marketing or shoe design, things like that, because we've been playing sports for so long. You're kind of outside. You're not used to working in an office. But if you put athletes into these positions and then you just have someone kind of help mentor them, they're gonna flourish. You just have to get them in the door. And then, so like for me with the Storm, I remember I kept talking to our president, like, I need to have all this stuff ready. She's like, you'll be fine. Like, you'll be fine when you get in here. Once you learn everything, and once, like, if I have questions, I ask like one of my managers. But for the most part, the transition, I think basketball has helped me because everything was constantly changing, and then that's helped me in the workplace. I will say like something as simple as it was like emails. Like I'm like, do I need to be super formal in this email? Do I need to respond to them? It was like little things like that I wasn't used to. But especially with the Storm, because we are like a team in our front office. So it's similar, like people have roles, you treat people with respect, you don't micromanage people, you let people do what they're supposed to do. And I feel like it's different than sports, but it's not so different. It's like the little thing, like the emails, the business jargon sometimes. I'm like, I don't really feel like using this business all the time. Like it's so, I don't know. It's just, that's different. But for the most part, it's still kind of the same thing, building relationships with people, especially with my role, with what I do. But it's been great. I really enjoy what I'm doing now.
Yeah, I love that point that you made about how people in sports are just as capable at working a quote unquote regular job, but you just gotta put them in there. I know one thing that I gained from, I played sports in high school, but just what it teaches you is that hard work, the consistency, the resilience, showing up every day, being on time, setting a goal for yourself or your team, and then reaching that goal. And so do you think those skills, and I imagine as you climb the ladder, going from college to the professional level, that grind only increases and you only have to be more and more on top of your stuff. And so do you think that mentality that you gained in basketball contributed to your success in your professional career now?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I had to, because of the work that I'm doing now with social justice, and I had to make sure, and I also work from home for most of, I had to separate a little bit because I was so used to, like, how would I say, like with basketball, let's say once I left the gym and I wasn't watching film, I could kind of turn it off. But with social justice, it was kind of always there. It's always there. It's a little bit different. I'm always trying to find this balance of, Crystal, don't overwork yourself in this space, because a lot of people do get burnt out just because it's like, it's always it's always going on. It's nonstop. And so it with sports, I had to balance work and make sure I didn't go too hard, if that makes sense, because I will get burnt out. If that makes sense, what I'm saying.
Definitely. Yeah, I completely see, how that can be exhausted mentally when constantly we are bombarded with news, and this is, our livelihoods really, when you're engaging in social justice work and you're so passionate about it, and it's, something that affects our community every single day. So, yeah, it's hard to create that delineation between, work and in your life, right? So, and then also I appreciated that you brought up the soft skills that you had trouble kind of figuring out at the beginning of your professional career. It's like the emails, the jargon, let's, circle back and loop you in and this and that, so those are those little things that you learn, I think, over time. And it's important to hear from people like you say, like, I struggled with, figuring out how to adapt to this environment, but your career in sports helped you be able to do that easier, it sounds like, and also to, consistently strive for that improvement. And I think, that's something special about people that do compete in athletics, is that you're always looking to, get better at your craft, and that translates over to your professional life.
Yes, for sure. For sure.
Yeah, can you tell us a pivotal experience in your life where you had to overcome adversity, sport related to sports or unrelated in general? And how did this influence your professional trajectory?
Oh, okay. I'll say this. I'll keep it with sports because it's still, I've been in the real world for 3 years, so I'll still go with. So it was that towards the end of my career, I didn't play as much, like the last few years. And so 2019, I played a little bit, and then I had a knee injury, which I didn't find out until I was like in Australia. It was a mess, and I had to come back home, and I rehabbed and everything. So it was my first, because I've been fortunate enough, I haven't had any major injuries throughout my career. I had, like, back stuff. I might be out for a few games, but not like a surgery injury. So I had torn my meniscus, and so I had to rehab. And then the first clinic I went to, it wasn't a good clinic. So I was like set back a little bit, and I had to go to another clinic when I was rehabbing my knee. And then the pandemic happened. And so everything was shut down. So I had to do my rehab like on my own, and then outside, like I was like running hills and stuff because everything was shut down. And so when 2020, the WNBA, we played in a bubble. We played in a bubble. We called it the wubble because it was the WNBA bubble. So you get it, play on words. So we were playing in the wubble in Florida, and I'm pretty much coming towards the end of my career. And I really don't play that much. Like, I'm just, it's so, I'm like, damn, I don't know if I'm getting in the game today. Like, it was kind of like that towards the end of my career. And, instead of sulking, instead of being like, and I always tell people, I tell young people too, when I talk to like college people, like, it's hard coming off the bench. It's hard not playing. It's easy when you play. It's easy when you're like the star and you get, you're gonna get all these shots. It's hard when you have to play these lesser roles on a team. And so at that point, I was just kind of like, how can I still make the team better with me not playing? Like, how can I still, and I always have like I'm a chill person. People like, I always feel like I've been a good teammate, like no matter what. And so we had a young post player. She was a rookie. She was so sweet. She was so nice, but she took my minutes. Like, she was playing over me. And I was like, am I going to be mad or am I going to help her? And I was like, I'm a helper, And so like, I kind of like before games, I would kind of be like, hey, this player does this, like, I was like, I feel like at that point in my career, I was just kind of like, it's coming to an end. I really enjoyed it. Let's still be a positive force for the team to help us win. And so even with that role, it was difficult. I'm not going to say it wasn't, because I still felt like I could play. Like, I wasn't, terrible, but we had a really good team, and they wanted to play this young player for the future. And I'm just kind of like, it is what it is. It was difficult, but I'm like, how am I gonna respond to this? And I just try to help her. And we ended up winning that year. It was my last year, and I feel like that I could kind of tell was coming to an end. And I was just kind of enjoying just being in the moment with my teammates and just playing. Like, I was still like playing basketball, and I was like, let me just enjoy it for what it is. So I would say that was a very difficult challenge for me, that whole summer. And then it was 2020. Like, people don't even understand. We were living in this, it was a prep school, and all the WNBA teams were there. You would see like coaches, referees, that like we had like this one pool, and we were stuck there for 3 months. Like, it was a challenge. I know a lot of people really struggled, and I'm the type of person, I was like, let me just pretend like when I was at the pool, like I'm in Mexico, like I'm not in this bubble, like so I would still try to make the best out of it, because I'm like, I could be home stuck in the house by myself, but at least we're with all these other people. We're stuck here together, but we still had a community. So I would say that was a huge challenge, just all around, and not playing, but still trying to figure out how could I help, even though I was struggling, even though things weren't going well.
I love to hear that mentality that you had about making the best of the situation. And, during the pandemic, so many people didn't have anything to do. So even when you were in that, in the bubble, as you call it, just like having that gratitude, I think is so important in life every day. And also, I love hearing that, you took that opportunity to mentor your younger teammate, because you could have been upset about, oh, I'm not getting play time. Oh, I'm injured. And what's the point of this? But you decided to have, that optimistic outlook. And I think that is so important.
Yeah, and I think that says so much about your character and your spirit, because, going back to our upbringings about us having to get it out the mud and not complaining and, just pushing through. A lot of times within, obviously can't speak for everybody, but I know for a lot of people, just having to constantly grind and, survive and get it out the mud, it can get competitive. And a lot of people get competitive, like, oh, you're trying to take my spot, or, a little like, who's this new person? What do they think they're doing? But for you to be like, you know what, I've had this whole career, I've had my journey, I've had my time, and I'm here, I've done it. Let me support the new girls coming behind me, that are going to continue this legacy on. And so I really do think that speaks to your character and why you've made it as far as you have.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that experience. And I was hoping you could dive a little bit more into when you were your younger self in college and you weren't really sure if you wanted to pursue the basketball and didn't know if it was really a possibility. What advice would you have given your younger self?
I would say, looking back, the advice I would give myself, don't focus on doing everything so right and perfect. Like, it's okay. Like, you don't have to, because I am somewhat of a perfectionist a little bit, and it's not, everything's not that serious. Like, you can, and don't get me wrong, like, I love to have fun and things like that, but I feel like when it came to like basketball in school, sometimes I was just kind of like, you know, things need to be done a certain way. And if it wasn't, it's okay. Like, don't be so hard on yourself. Let's change, like, don't be so hard on yourself. Like, you're young, you make choices, you make mistakes. I haven't tell people, like, if I make a mistake now, I have to give myself grace. Like, Crystal, it's okay that you're making a mistake in your 30s. Like, people make mistakes their whole life. So I would always say, like, it's okay to make mistakes. Don't be so hard on yourself. I feel like there's two types of individuals, like someone who's like, and someone who's kind of like, go with the flow. I'm more, I don't think I would be like a type A personality, but I'm more so just trying to do everything right. Everything doesn't need to be like that. It's okay. Like, relax when it comes to certain things. I'm chill, but like with certain things, I'm not chill. So
Yeah,
it's
that
kind
is
of,
so true.
go ahead.
Yeah, that definitely, no, it's okay. That resonates with me. I'm also like a perfectionist. I suffer from it. And I used to think like everything has to go right the first time. And that's just not how you learn. That is not how life works. And you cannot plan things out. And I started to see that, as I've gotten older, like, wow, you could have this path for yourself and then life's just gonna like throw you completely off. It's gonna deter you. And it's like you just have to figure out how to make it work. So I just love like hearing that. Like, don't beat yourself up for the mistakes. Like, that is just a part of the journey and just learn from them.
Absolutely. Learning from the journey. That's the biggest thing, reminding ourselves that we are going to get there. We're going to make it. Everything's going to be okay. And not to lose foresight or not to lose sight of, where you're going to end up. Because if you are just always focused on the destination, you're never going to enjoy the journey. And that's when people wake up and they're like, where did life go? What happened?
Yes.
Focused on the destination that they
Mhm.
weren't just reveling in the moment and in the journey and what it took to get there.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's why my last season, even though it was tough, I was really just kind of enjoying like that I've been playing basketball for so long and what it's meant to me and all the thing it's done for me. So no, I feel you. The process. It's all about the process and the journey. Yeah.
Absolutely. One thing that we ask all of our guests is, what does Blackness mean to you? Because while, we're all Black, our collective experience, and we have a collective experience, we are all individuals that walk our own paths. And so we would love to know, what does Blackness mean to you?
I would say, yeah, we're not a monolith. There's so many forms of Blackness. I don't like when Blackness is tried to be put into a box. What Black? Oh, that's a tough one. Do people give you guys?
It's hard. It is. A lot of people they sit with their thoughts and it's completely fine. And I feel like what you're touching on is like we are a collective, yet there is so much diversity within our community. At least that's how I feel. Like even hearing, you talk about like your immigrant background, like that is so different from people that are born here in the US, right? Like like African Americans and African immigrants, it's entirely different. And people looking on the outside in, like they don't understand the complexity within the community and like understanding our positionality in like even the US, particularly for you. So if you could share that too, that'd be really interesting.
Yeah, no, I would say, yeah, culturally I was raised a little bit different. But the communities I grew up in were all Black. So I know I always tell, like, sometimes I even said some Black and brown immigrants, they look at Black Americans differently, like, which is not okay. They have this anti-Blackness that have been put in people's head, or anti-American Blackness. Um, and that's not okay. I feel like, and that's, to me, is not understanding what Black Americans have gone through in this country. I think sometimes Black immigrants they don't understand that either. And I think this is where, like, people need to have empathy. People need to understand how these cultural differences have come about. Sometimes it's hard for me to explain.
No, I feel like I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, and I think you can't look at and it's we're different, but we're all Black, and there's this, I don't know, it's this Blackness. Like, I love being Black. Like, I don't that's why I'm like, I'm an immigrant, but I'm a child of immigrants, but, like, I am Black. Like, I know there's some people who feel differently, but I don't feel like that. It's given me a very different perspective on the way I see things. And because I understand like I always say, like, with Black, like, if you've been, for 12 generations, your family has been discriminated against, oppressed with, like, I don't know, Blackness is complicated. It's amazing. It's, like I always say, when people talk about it on social media, like, I would never change. Like, I would love being a Black woman. I love what it represents. I love culturally, like, when I see, like, if I'm in a room full of white people and there's another Black person, I give them a head nod. Like, that's, to me, is just kind of like, I don't know how to, Blackness is, I don't know if I can articulate it.
And that might be the perfect thing. It's hard.
Yeah.
There's, so much depth to who we are as a people. And I really, really love that point that you made, especially being a child of immigrants, because I do think that's a topic within the Black community that should be talked about more, because, I've heard, debates and discussions, with immigrants from Africa and African Americans. And I've heard people say, well, you guys are born and come from the richest country in the world, and you're complaining, like, having that kind of attitude about being oppressed when, we came and started a life for ourselves and you're already here. And, there's a lot of back and forth dialogue kind of comparing the experiences from the immigrant experience and the African American experience. And I think that a lot of people don't understand that, we're really starting from less than zero. Like, African Americans are really starting from the back of the back.
And immigrants have this idea of hope. I always say that's, like, sometimes Black Americans have been beaten down for so long. It's really hard to, like you said, below zero, it's hard to get, like, it's hard to succeed sometimes. Like, and I'm just like, if people had a better understanding, if they educated themselves, they will understand and they will see. So, no, I definitely hear what you're saying.
Yeah, Chris, I feel like you captured exactly what, we were hoping to hear too, about just how Blackness, it is so complex. And, like Brad had said about, Black Americans have started from behind zero. And, Martin Luther King Jr. said, that Black Americans have been written a bad check. I don't remember the exact, phrasing of that. But I think what you mentioned about holding empathy, right, in space for understanding about where we all come from, like, even though there is this unity with us being Black and there is this pride, we all started from a different point. And, it's those systemic factors that you talked about. Like, it's the generational trauma that Black Americans particularly are trying to overcome and have been for literal decades, right? Since, the effects and atrocities of colonization. And I think that that's particularly left a mark on us that has caused us to feel this like pain. But also I love what you said, like, I love being Black. Like I also love being Black, and I am so proud to see how far we've come, right, from where we've been. And it just shows the resilience and the testament of who we are and how strong we are as a people, and that determination. And, just if you continue to keep fighting, right, like, you will make those changes. And we're still making the changes. Like, we're still not where we want to be as a society. And I loved everything you said, and I think you captured it.
Thank you.
Yeah, this wasn't a planned question, but I wanted to ask before we go to our very last question. Is there a piece of advice that you would give to all the little girls that may be looking up to you and aspire to play for the Storm one day? What would your advice be to them?
My advice to them would be, do not sell yourself short. Like that imposter syndrome where you think, do I belong? And that's not even just sport, just anywhere. Like, should I be here? I'm like, you're here for a reason. Like, you are here for a reason. So take up that space. Don't play small. Don't be scared to use your voice. Your voice is extremely important. That's one of the things I realized with my role. Sometimes I would kind of be like, should I say something? And I'm like, no, like, I am here for a reason. I'm a former athlete. I'm a Black woman. Like, I have all these different, I used to play, like, all these different viewpoints that other people don't have. I'm like, you are here for a reason. So take up space.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I also appreciate that you talked about the imposter syndrome too, because I think as Black people, we feel that. And I think it partly contributes to some of us being like perfectionists and feeling like, you have to work twice as hard to prove yourself. And it's like the fact that you're in this room, like, you have proven yourself. That's why you're there, right? Like, there's not enough of us there. So you need to take every single chance you can to make the change that you want to see while you have the opportunity and the seat at the table, and also try to, bring other people to that table too. So that's great.
And I guess that's goes to our last question. Is there anything else you'd like to add in general, just off the top?
I don't know. I feel like we covered a good amount. This was a really good.
Did. It was so. I realized like it was so long. We always go over time. Brad and I like try to hold like 30 minutes or so, but we end up going like over an hour every single time, and we kind of love it. So.
Oh, this was a good conversation. I really enjoyed talking to both of you. Yeah.
Wow, I'm so happy to hear. Thank you. Actually, I do have one last question. I kind of want to know, like, what are you most looking forward to just this year with your work with Force for Change? We didn't really get to ask you specifically like a main goal that you have or an initiative, but I would love to hear that just to close.
Yeah, so we've been growing our Kicks for Equality campaign. That's where we have our players wearing custom designed shoes with social justice messaging on them. And then last year we had our first sneaker ball to go along with that campaign. And so we're doing that again this year. So that's our largest initiative with Force for Change. And we're trying to continue to grow that. So the players love it. It's like that campaign is special because it really ties everyone in. Like, the players are choosing their shoes. We're working with the artists, with the nonprofit. We're working with our corporate partners. Our corporate partners are investing. That's even, I'll say, with Force for Change, it's like we only have so many dollars. Like, because the women's sports organization, we don't have NBA money. So we have our corporate partners invest. And that's where Force for Change is a little bit different than other organizations, because we get our corporate partners to invest into the work that we're doing. So that campaign kind of embodies everything that Force for Change is.
That's so exciting. I look forward to seeing all the work that you all do. That's great.
Same here. And thank you so much for being on the podcast. Thank you for, being an example in the community and continuing to strive for change and leading by example as you have done. We really appreciate it. And we really hope that this episode resonates with a lot of young athletes, and even beyond that, who are just aspiring to work hard and make it in their career, and also maybe have a little career transition that's still fulfilling in their heart. So thank you so much for joining Identity Unboxed.
No, thank you for having me. I really enjoyed our talk today.
Thank you so much for your leadership and sharing your wisdom. I know it will be inspiring for so many people. So we hope to connect with you again soon.
I know. Thank you. Yeah, this was
Yes.
fun.
Yes. Maybe we'll go to a Storm game.
Yeah, no, let me know.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me know. Yeah, for
Awesome.
sure.
All right.
Okay.
Talk to you
All right,
soon.
have a good
Bye.
one.
You too.
We are so grateful for your support, and thank you for listening to Identity Unboxed.
Authenticity is your guide to cast an impact on the world that you will be proud of. Signing off with pride, Tiana
And Brad.
Thank you so much.